love shooting, hunting, and educating. So if you want to learn about long-range shooting, you're in the right place. This is the Long Range Addicts Podcast. Shooter ready, stand by.
I had to go shut my door. My wife's in there yelling at my kids. Apparently, she's really competitive when it comes to Mario Brothers because she's like,
"Oh, no mercy, no mercy!
Quit pushing me off."
Who is not competitive for Mario Bros?
She's angry. Like there's anger in there, so I had to shut the door. I'm probably gonna get shit for this later, but that's fine. Welcome everybody. Thursday, week's almost over. We're enjoying ourselves. Thanks for joining us. First off, I want to thank Primary Arms for sponsoring the show. They're going to be one of our new sponsors for 2021. Excited. I really kind of want to hit on the point that Primary Arms has kind of become the new like Midway, I guess you could say. They were known forever for having just optics and stuff, and they've kind of opened up recently, kind of made a brand change and gone a different direction. So now they've got a lot of stuff that a lot of people want, so you can kind of go hit everything you need there at one time. So I want to really thank Primary Arms for stepping up, helping us out. We're going to talk about some of our other new sponsors coming through, and we appreciate you. We ran the numbers. We're over 100,000 downloads in 30 episodes. So it's crazy. We appreciate y'all. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts out there that you can listen to, and we appreciate you guys for coming to our podcast and listening, even though I'm sitting here rambling like I usually do. But I appreciate y'all. Today we're going to be doing, the BS out of ammo session with LRT. We're going to, again, like I said last week, we're going to start trying to do this, or last 2 weeks ago. Like I said, my weeks are going together really bad right now. We're going to start doing this every other week. And then every other week, I'm going to bring somebody on. We're going to talk about the industry or different things like that. Next week, we're going to be talking to Sean Heron from We Like Shooting. We're helping him build a new long range system. He's never shot long range. He's been a pistol carbine guy forever. And, he's just trying to figure out how to get into it. So we're going to talk him through it. So if you want to learn, what to look for in building your new long range rifle, make sure you tune in next week. But without further ado, I'm going to let us get started. I'm going to kind of let Jose take this week just because I'm sick of listening to myself. I'm going to let him kind of take this week. We talked about some stuff earlier in the week, and I want to hit it again. So I'll let you take it, Jose.
Yeah. So y'all hear me just fine. So the whole point of this sessions, the way these sessions came about, is within the reviewer crew, there's probably 10, 12 of us on that thread. With all kind of the core group of guys from LRT. And we always have some pretty interesting discussions. And we're like, man, I wish you want to go make a coffee table book out of it. Right. But I feel like it's like some discussions that people could get, some quality info out of. And one that we kind of had earlier in the week was really just what's the state. And this will be a little bit more specific to competitive shooting, but it is really about long range overall. And it's really just like, where's it going? What's going on right now? Right. I mean, you look at matches, attendance is down even for the big matches. It's impressive, but not as impressive as years past. You don't see as many guys posting on Instagram about just, waylaying prairie dogs with 300 rounds because the 300 rounds are pretty freaking tight right now, and so I don't know, it just kind of brought up an interesting discussion. We were going to talk about just Garrett was supposed to be on here, and he's kind of probably the newer shooter in the group, and he's really getting after it. And I've only been at this 4 or 5 years, and there's Cole who's been doing this long enough to retire. So really interesting kind of various perspectives to kind of what keeps us going. Why do we still like to shoot? What do your goals change? Kind of stuff like that. And Solinsky was not a part of that discussion, so I feel like he's probably coming into this a little bit blind. But I guess just with me throwing all that BS out there and in the general state of this, the way this podcast goes, Solinsky, what thoughts come to mind with me giving you that little 2-minute elevator speech?
Well, kind of the state of the industry. I mean, for new shooters, it's difficult. Even guys that have the money, it's finding ammo, it's finding gun components, right? So we've seen this huge splurge in precision rifles. All the precision gun manufacturers are like on a 12-month back order. Barrel manufacturers are on a 12-month back order. Stock manufacturers are on a back order. And I think a lot of it has to do with everyone got gifted the perfect amount of money where their wife couldn't complain about buying a new gun. Like $1,400 is about the cost of a good action. And then you get another 600. Well, there's all your gunsmithing for it, and then another 1,200, and there's everything else you need for it. So all these people that didn't have the money now had the money. And then you've got the ammo component. I mean, my local gun shop just got their first shipment of 6.5 in a couple of weeks ago, and it was 4 boxes, not 4 cases, 4 boxes, and it was $80 a box. So one, that's not even enough ammo if I shot 6.5 Creedmoor to go shoot a match. And 2, it would almost cost as much as my gun build to go shoot the match. So I'm just not going to shoot. So I think we're going to see a huge drop in new competitors this year. And then we're starting to see some components pop up for the guys that reload. But even then, unless they had a huge stash, your entry-level reloaders wouldn't have that. And then they're not going to shoot as much this year.
Yeah, I think those are all good points. And I think, honestly, if you step back and kind of take a 30,000 foot view, I mean, I think that's the immediate knee-jerk reaction is like, it's really hard to get into the game right now. But I think, to me, the more ridiculous part is like the guys, not like us. I mean, heck, you've been between all your various, high power and all that junk. You've been shooting for years, and I've been at it for probably better part of 5 years now competitively. I mean, I've been shooting since I was a kid. But the guys that tried to start last year, to me, those are really the guys that like went all in, bought 2 builds and got their first nice scope and all that. And they kind of, there's that kind of learning curve, and it's a really hard time to like push through that wall, right? Like when you hit that first wall of learning and where things aren't just, you're not getting twice as good every single weekend and stuff. And now you lack the components to practice, or, matches aren't there or what have you. And I think those are the guys for me that I really kind of sit there and wonder, like, how are they, what's going to make that generation, let's say the new guys, the 2019, like if you started shooting your first matches in 2019, what's going to be the attrition rate of that group, right? Because they got in. It was a very easy time to get in. Economy was great. Gun stuff was everywhere. Technology went through the roof. And then like, well, we don't have any primers now, right? So to me, that's the interesting group. And I'm going to pause right here for a second too and just say, for anybody watching, we want this to be interactive, right? I mean, we can sit here and kind of within our own little bubble of like what we think about shooting, but like tell us what you think about like what's going on right now, what thoughts cross your mind, and what do you want some perspective on? So anybody watching, make sure you're hitting up the comments and let's see what people got to say. Oh, also, while I pause, and then we're going to come back to this, it looks like we got a pretty awesome discount code scrolling across the bottom here, 20% off Cryptek. Cryptek's pretty awesome stuff. So make sure you're using that code if you see that. All these you're going to get these little pieces of candy, little candy trail going as we go through this podcast. Anyway, so, but back to the general topic, backing up, I'm going to go back to Cole for a second because old man River here, original team Remington, that old God, shooting Remington in matches. God.
Look at that shit. What's back
I'm
there?
just kidding. No, what do you think about all this, man? What's your thoughts?
I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about this lately, and we call it the OG. When I started 2012, 2013, when I started shooting matches, it's been a long time. It was different. There's been a lot of growth, which has been awesome, but I think there's a plateau, and I think the plateau is now, starting to really hit, and whether it grows or not, it's going to be dependent on a few factors that I could dig a deep freaking trench into. But in my opinion, a lot of the matches are heavily controlled by some of the top shooters in the country. Those top shooters travel all over. They have the money to fly. They have the money to compete, on that national level. And most people don't have that. They could maybe hit 2 or 3 matches a year. On average, I think we figured it out once, to go to a match between entry fees, food, fuel, lodging, everything, you're about $1,000. What could you do with $1,000 to go do that? And I see a lot of the smaller one-day matches kind of growing back. I think that's one of the big reasons why the 22 market has grown so big, because guys can afford to go shoot it. And it's a one-day match. Their wives aren't chewing their ass the whole time. It's just one of those things that it's just that there's a plateau with how you're competitive. So you've either got to take this sport and put it on a true national level, with money and everything else to go to the next step, or you've got to figure out how to get the bottom 80% of people to start shooting and coming into the fold. And I see a lot of people that want to shoot, and then they get over, it kind of becomes too much for them to get into it. And I think, some of the things like NRL Hunter is good, but I still don't think it's letting a lot of these guys with their little freaking Savages and stuff like that come in and compete. When you got a rifle that costs more than some of these people's cars, with optics, it's kind of intimidating to come in and compete. But hopefully I answered some of it. And like I said, we could go down a freaking rabbit hole here, but I think we're at that plateau, and there's some changes that are going to have to be made to either, take the sport to the next level, or, try to get more people involved. If that's my opinion anyway.
No, and I think that's completely valid, right? I mean, we always talk about grow the sport, and honestly, we wouldn't have sessions like this unless the four of us weren't pretty adamant about growing the sport, right? But to me, it really, what's the Solinsky? Didn't you used to really like to share that? Is it called the Dunning-Kruger effect or whatever? Where
yeah, I think it's the Dunning-Kruger.
And then the valley of despair, and then you come back up, and just kind of like knowledge on one side, and experience on the other, and we
confidence. It's knowledge and experience
and
confidence.
That's right. Yeah. But there's so much mental to this, and let's step back from competition a minute, right? Like we can talk about, I think Justin made a good point on the last one. Like competition probably typically drives the innovation of the gear we use, right? Like scopes get better because competitions get bigger, certain niches get bigger, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we're a small niche of the overall precision shooting game, right? Like let's say PRS style, this kind of outlaw long range style is really a very small niche, right? I mean, high power's been around forever. Heck, my hero, Carlos Hathcock, heck, he was distinguished in the 60s. Like, this is way better than any of us, way longer than any of us. So if we step back and make this overarching, just guys that join our group, if you're watching this right now and you're in the Long Range Tactics Facebook group and you have no interest in competing, you just want to take your, whatever gun you have and go from 400 to 800 yards. You want to stretch it to 800. There's still that learning curve, right? There's still the motivators of like, what do you spend that next dollar? Or do you go shooting 2 weekends a month instead of one? Like, it's this is really a self-starting game, right? I mean, for whatever motivators, do you do it because you hang out with your buddies? Do you do it because your goal is to hit a golf ball at 1,000 yards? Do you do it because you want to become a better hunter? There's all these different goals, but I think sometimes those goals become convoluted, right? And Solinsky, I think you'll probably have some really good input here too, because you essentially competed for work for the better part of 3 years, right? I mean, in essence, doing. People pick up competing because it seems like a cool way to get into long range shooting, right? Like for me, there's a local PRS match. This is my new hunting gun. I'm gonna go see what I can do. And I was like, well, I was not terrible at it. Like I finished, I don't know, top of the bottom third, like with my hunting rifle. Let's get more into this, and you get more into it, and you get more into it. And at some point, right? I mean, I had about 2 years there where I shot probably over 30 matches in a year. Not only a few of those were national matches, but still, that's 30 weekends out of 52 that you were shooting, right? And heck, I think all three of y'all have had busier years than that at some point in your lives of shooting. And at some point, are you doing it because you want to compete, or are you still doing it because you love to shoot, right? Like we all talk about, we're Second Amendment people and we want to get better at shooting. But like, if you're doing it because you love to compete, then at some point you got to decide, okay, I'm doing this because I'm going to get better, or it's time to back off because I enjoy shooting, right? And I think that's where a lot of people start to feel burnout, and they don't even realize it's because they kind of lost sight of that, right? And especially for me, if I was doing this because I love to compete or thought I could compete, and then I couldn't find components, everything's expensive, traveling's a pain in the butt, like it'd be real easy to fall off and quit long range shooting and go pick up fishing or skiing or whatever. But that's not what people need to keep in mind, right? So,
well, along those tracks too, is you go to a match and you've got to understand who you're competing against. You're not competing against the top 10%, right? You're competing against you're competing against that group of guys that are in the same caliber of shooting as you. When I go shoot a match, I don't look, hey, how did I place against Pinch or Vibbert or any of those guys. I could give a shit less because they're in a different bracket than I am, because I just don't put in the time or the dedication to go do what they're doing. And that's to me, that they're probably more in tune with it than I've got to look at the guys that I've shot with that I know that are about the same as me and that I can compete with without feeling like, holy shit, I just blew that. Yeah, I placed 65th place. Okay. But where's all the guys that I shoot with? Where are they? Are they all down there with me? Because if they are all down there with me, that tells me that, hey, this match was probably not the best for my skill set. All of us are here. But if they're all up here and I'm still down here, then that's a problem. But you just got to kind of take it in your mind that who you're competing against, I guess, in those situations.
No, I think that's great. And I'm going to put up here for everybody to see, and Zelensky is where you're going to take it away. So I finally had a custom centerfire rig built, only to sell it due to component availability. Purchased a custom rimfire and plan to do that until the components come back.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to rimfire because of that. I also think a lot of people are going to rimfire the same reason I enjoy rimfire better than centerfire. You can't buy your way to the podium. Not saying that centerfire shooters aren't good, the podium, but it's definitely a bit of a money game. If you've got more money, I can afford a barrel that's got a 600-round barrel life, and I can afford to load, a $3 a shot cartridge, and I can do all these high-speed things so that I don't have to worry about my variables as much. And it is a lot more daunting for a new shooter to come in that's just trying to do their first custom 308 build or something like that can't afford a really high velocity cartridge, because it doesn't matter how much practice they have, they're at a severe statistical disadvantage, right? Where with 22, it doesn't matter how much money you spend. Like, does my Voodoo have an advantage over my Ruger American that I started with? Absolutely. Could I place the same place with my Ruger American? Yes. And that's how I got sponsored. And I think that's a huge draw for people going to the 22 stuff, is that it isn't as daunting because you can't just pay your way out of needing to call wind. Like, I'm running essentially with all of the accessories and everything, my Voodoo setup is about $6,000. That doesn't cut my wind call down at all compared to a stock Ruger 1022 from Walmart. So I think that gives a huge advantage to the 22 market, and ammo is still available. It's getting expensive, but it's still significantly cheaper than even centerfire was 2 years ago. So
right.
Even with the new prices.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, when you talk about not only levels the playing field, but I think you can get really good at centerfire shooting, right? Well, I say PRS, let's call it PRS NRL type shooting. Mm-hmm. You're good with a centerfire by shooting at 100 yards, half-inch dot drills all day long off of barricades, but that's not fun. There's no cool factor to that, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of discipline and self-motivation to be willing to only do that practice, right? So you feel like if you're going to get into PRS, like you want a range that at least has a 600-yard range or 500-yard range, what have you. Yeah. I've been lucky enough to find 1,000-yard ranges everywhere I've lived, luckily, if you're willing to drive. But the thing about a 22 range is you can go to your national forest public land hunting range that has benches at 100 for 25, 50, and 100, and take your little 22 KYL rack you bought for way cheaper than you'd buy AR 500, go set it at 100 yards or go set it at 70 yards, and you can practice the same distances, the same challenge level, the same everything as what you're typically, right? I'm not talking NRL 22X where we're 100 yards. That's a different game, right? But for the most part, you can practice the same stuff that you would be doing in a competition. And I think that's another very appealing thing, as well as it's easier for more ranges to host matches. I mean, I think both of those things really lend themselves to why you really see this precision 22 craze.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even just in my part of the country, up until 22 took off, there was maybe 3 PRS matches a year within 6 hours of my house. Maybe. I shot 45 22 matches last year, all of which were within 4 hours of my house.
Judas.
And I've got about the same amount on my schedule this year. So, I mean, just the Mid-Atlantic Rimfire Series is Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. And I think we just added one range in New Jersey, and they had 58 matches on the schedule, and they added 2 clubs after that were both running monthly matches. So we're at almost 70 on the schedule for a 4-state series. I mean, that's more than PRS ran in the entire country last year.
All right.
Yep. So this is an interesting rabbit hole that I'm willing to go down to that because I feel extra spicy. So that's right. That was good, wasn't it? What are you guys' thoughts on having separate divisions based on factory ammo and hand loads for the centerfire game?
I don't think there's enough separation anymore. I mean, I came from
No.
a factory ammo company, and the ability to get a factory ammo tuned, especially now you got tuners and stuff, so you can get factory ammo that shoots just straight up phenomenal. The difference is if you want to pay for it. There's definitely a price difference between the factory and the hand load, because now it's who knows what it is. But I think there's not really a big difference there. I think the big difference is, whether it's just a rifle you can buy off the shelf or something that you can have to go put together. The PRS kind of designed that, and I might get shot for this, but they designed this production series that's a crock of shit, if you ask me, because now you can get these rifles that they just reduced the price on to get to a certain price point that just flat out freaking shoot. And there's not really a production there, but it's hard,
And the Call 624i counts as a production scope now.
Yeah, but it is a hard thing, because if you look at it from the other point, it would be hard to keep everybody on the same thing. How do you state what a production rifle is? And there's definitely got to be a line.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with this business, is everybody's going to try and push that freaking envelope, no matter what you do. Somebody's going to try and gain that envelope.
For me too, though, I think, and I think Cole could definitely chime in here as well, but as a match director, I don't want the headache of having to check your ammo. It's bad enough that I can walk up and I can see a Brigera and know that's production. And if you got in there and tinkered with your trigger and lied about being production, well, you're probably a jerk anyways, and you're probably not going to finish in the top, right? So that is what it is. But if I had to sit there and think about, I got to go check and see if this is a factory load or a hand load, because then, gamers, if you're not gaming, you're not trying, and rules are meant to be pushed, you're going to have guys who go pull bullets, redo their powder to even out their powder, and then they're going to reseat their bullets to the exact same load every time. And is that hand loaded or is it not? Did he make it consistent? And the fact of the matter is, Cole talked about, you can buy nice ammo, but the best factory ammo I've ever seen, and I will repeat this over and over and over till the cows come home, it didn't matter if it was a freaking custom gun or a Brigera HMR or a Tikka T3. That Hornady American Gunner 140 grain boat tail hollow point, it's got the BC of a spit wad, but holy crap, I swear I've never seen that stuff shoot over half MOA in any gun. Absolutely silly accurate factory load. So one, the difference, I agree with Cole. I don't think the difference is there. And two, selfishly as a match director, I don't want that. I don't want that responsibility. I wouldn't have those divisions at my matches. And frankly, it would just slow everybody down. The shooters wouldn't want, sign in to take 2 hours because we're doing freaking gear checks like they do in NASCAR. That freaking sucks,
Well, it would turn into USPSA. I mean, USPSA has got 9 different divisions. You've got to do speed checks to see if you're in major or minor power factor, and all this other shit that nobody wants to deal with. And you still have people push that envelope. And even if they did come up with a way to separate it, kind of like Cole alluded to, it would last one season. The next season, somebody would come out with something. Somebody would release production factory 6GT. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Some small ammo shop would come out with it, but they only produce enough for 5 competitors that they already had sold all of it before it was put up on their website. Right. So now you've got 5 people shooting in the factory loaded division, shooting 6GT while everyone else is shooting 308.
Well,
which is what happened with production.
Well, yeah, the same thing happened with Ruger when they had that RPR. Koenig shot that RPR, and then all of a sudden they came out with a special RPR that was more gooder, and then everybody got pissed because it's almost impossible to control. But while we're on this topic, there's a new section of the podcast that I want to do, and I needed to plug it. And I think right here is where I need to plug it. This is brought to you by Falcor Defense. Falcor is one of our new sponsors, with the Dracos, with the new action systems. I saw one on their freaking Instagram today, a brand new action they just released, and there was an email out as soon as I saw it, pissed off because I haven't heard about it. I'm excited to see it, but Falcor's doing a lot of things in the precision long range game, so check them out. But I'm going to turn this over to Tyler. I'm going to pull over this page right here, so that we can kind of talk about it. But this is the new Bergara. I saw it today.
That was fancy.
Yeah, I saw that.
Premier Competition Rifle teamed up with MPA. So I'm going to let Tyler take it from here and kind of explain what it is because I haven't read it all yet.
So basically, it's just the Bergara PMR Pro, their barreled action, sitting in a MPA BA chassis with a Trigger Tech trigger. You can get it 6 Creed, 6.5 Creed. Comes with a magazine. It's a sweet gun for the money. It still fits in that PRS production. MSRP is $24.99, but it's a pretty sweet rifle.
Looks like there's what does it say? I saw a freaking guarantee somewhere. Where did I just see it?
Yeah, it's a half MOA guarantee, I think.
One MOA or less than 100
One
yards
MOA.
with quality
right
factory
there.
max grade ammo. So, but that's the thing is if somebody can afford it, go for it. I mean, that's the type of thing because there is the MPA that comes out like that, and yeah. So I don't know. It's just something new. We want to do this every week to where we talk about something new. I didn't even know they had dual ejectors. Look at that. Anyway,
I saw somebody complain today on one of the Bergara posts about it not having a rail. I was like, seriously?
so
much
you
gun
got
sitting there?
separate.
Like, yeah, but seriously, like, if you're buying a Bergara and an MPA, you're probably being a cost cutter anyways. And that's not a knock on a Bergara. I recommend a Bergara to anybody that's looking for
Yeah.
it. Like, I freaking love Bergara. But if you're going to knock a Bergara for not coming with, like, it's sitting in an MPA chassis and you're going to knock it for not coming with a scope rail.
Doesn't the Badrock come that way too?
Yeah, and the Badrock doesn't even actually take. Oh wait, sorry. Nope, that's not the same action I was thinking about. Forget anything I was about to say.
Yeah, Badrock does come that way, but that's how Defiant sells their actions though. They sell their action and they sell their rail separately, so you have to buy that so they can hit a price point. But I mean, if you're going to hit that same price point, you've got the GA now that is at $24.99. It comes with one. You've got the MPA. What is it? The
Was the PMR or the PMR Pro? One's
yeah, and they're
2000
24. They're the exact same price with it. So I think that's something they've got to think about, I guess, in their marketing plan. Because if you're going to offer something the same exact price with the same chassis and everything, and one comes with fully done and the other one doesn't, I guess that's something that you got to really.
That MPA comes in a ton of different calibers.
Yeah, you're right. So I don't know. Maybe that's a marketing change that they're going to do in the near future, but we'll see. Anyway, back to the story. I just kind of wanted to break that in there and talk about it, but
that's good. So yeah, I don't know if this is off the subject or not, but Justin brings up a point that's near and dear to my heart. I think a rimfire match similar to NRL Hunter would be so I'd had that. So Solinsky and I went up and shot a match, which I will definitely go shoot next year. But it was the NRL 22X match in Tennessee, and it was sold, or not sold, but like if you read the write-up, it was written almost as if it was going to be an NRL Hunter type match with a 22. You know, no ranges would be given, all stages shot blind, blah blah blah. But the one thing that I shoot a lot of the competition dynamics matches, which was one of the kind of inspiring series is for the NRL Hunter, and a lot of that is it isn't about a lot of high volume of shooting. There's only 4 or 8 targets, and you got like 5 minutes to like get in your position and find them and everything. But they're not obvious to find. They're never painted. They're usually rusty brown in the freaking sagebrush of Wyoming or New Mexico, and they're not easy to find. So that's what I thought would go into Tennessee. Tennessee, you can comment here if you want, but they were mostly painted bright orange, and aside from the one stage where they had squirrels hiding behind trees in the most ridiculous fashion, they were all pretty, right? Like, does that sound about right? There was one stage that they were pretty hard to find.
Yeah, they were all pretty obvious, and the ranges weren't ridiculous.
Well, also the ranges, aside from one stage, all the ranges were inside of 100 yards, and there'd be like random like 25, 50, 100 placards around trees, but a target might be 8 yards, but you could look at a 50 tree and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to, hold a little bit. Right. So it's not exactly what I was expecting. So I really, Justin, back to the original point, I would love to host a match 0 to 300 yards 22 targets, only 4 or 5 per stage, and you have 3 or 4 minutes to find them and shoot them. But I got to find a place. So if anybody's watching that lives in the general Southeast and wants to hook that up, holler at your boy.
Is that where Jonathan went full send it in his car?
Yeah.
Yes, that is where I went full send it, a quarter mile from the range, and rolled my Ford Escape.
Oh, well, I bet your wife was proud.
Isn't that where the
Yeah,
love
I waited
affair
till
can
halfway
start?
through the match to tell her. What was that?
Isn't that where your guys' love affair started too?
No, it started long before that with the Marine Corps and
Oh,
purple
yeah.
crayons and
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Wait, are you talking about his wife or me? I'm confused.
Whatever you guys do off air is your own business, not mine.
Okay, here's the real question. Did you replace the car yet?
I did, with another Ford Escape.
Escape.
Not,
like, so
not
let's-
many people
so
can
let's-
say they've crash tested their own car. I've crash tested my own car.
I was like, Zelensky, what are you going to do with the insurance check? You going to upgrade? He's like, dude, I survived that wreck. The car did what it was supposed to. I'm going to go buy the exact same car. I was like, eh.
He's gonna save it all for.
Oh,
his
I got
freaking-
a year newer model with 30,000 less miles and the higher trim package, and I still had $600 left over. So I'm not upset.
That's going into the ambulance.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jeremy said the fact that you made the match is incredible. Not only made, but was one hit from winning.
Yeah. Well, 2 hits, 1 hit from tying.
Oh, yeah, okay, whatever, still counts.
You know what he meant.
Still counts. Oh, man.
The worst part is I know exactly where I lost the match. There was this one stage in the middle. Oh, and my headphones just died. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
There was one stage like in the middle that had these 2 rabbit targets out at like 150. I think they were 151 or something. And I held what I thought was the right dope, missed both targets, was like, oh, that's weird. They're fairly large targets. Moved on, finished the stage. And like halfway through the waiting period to shoot the next stage, I just like get this light bulb and I'm like, oh shit. And I held the 100-yard dope. Yeah, I held the 100-yard dope on the 150-yard target, and they were worth 10 points each, and I lost the match by 10 points.
That'll do it. Oh, man. So, Justin, here, what do you guys think? If you guys, the 3 of you, as well as anybody watching, 22 match, 0 to 300 yards, find, range, engage on the clock. Is there added value to them being animal targets or diamonds and circles for the challenge?
Yeah, for sure. I think for sure animals, because you're not going to shoot diamonds in circles. I think that's one of the big things that a lot of people have more fun with, because going from paper targets to still targets is more fun because you get to hear a reaction. Going from just a regular round still target to an actual, and I've got a MGM sent me a coyote, like an actual life-size coyote, and they sent me a couple Bigfoots, the small Bigfoots. And I'm like, now I can get more training on something that I would actually shoot because it's shaped like it. It's not round. Because those
Bigfoots are everywhere.
Yeah, they're damn right they are. You ask Joe Cayley, my homie. They're everywhere. There's freaking documentaries out there on, okay? These ones are little mini ones. They're like, I need to like this. I need more Yodas. But anyway, the coyote, like, it gives you a lot more room to shoot over around. It gives you more wind call, but it doesn't give you as much of a elevation call, if that makes sense. So you shut up, Browning lover. Frickin' Browning. Anyway. But
hey, you don't say that.
I think it would be more fun to have squirrels and stuff, because then they're shaped the direction that you would, and they're not just a circle. Because, like, take this at Scott Satterley's match, the first ever match that kind of based the NRL Hunter Series off of last year at Cameo, he did diamonds. I don't know how many traces I watched go over where a corner of a freaking over the corner or under the corner, where if it was a square they would have hit. So changing the target just a little bit really changed, in my opinion, the hit ratio. And I think by doing it with animals, it would definitely change the hit ratio, because you either have more elevation or you have more windage, one of the two. It's not just a square or a circle. So that's my opinion, but I could be wrong.
And especially for the rimfire stuff, I think animals would be better just because it's more cost effective for the match directors. So like most of these match directors can't afford to go buy a new steel just for one match, right? Like with AR 500, it would be ridiculously expensive. But when you've got like some of the smaller shops like Travis, who made all my targets, I mean, a match director hosting like a big like national 22 match, or not even national, but like a big regional one that gets 40 or 50 competitors, they could easily afford to go buy steel specifically for that match. Just because it isn't the Air 500, or if they're using the aluminum targets for the far range ones. Like, it's not that ridiculous. And so to get animal targets, even though you don't have them, would be completely doable for 22, where it may not be for centerfire.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're I don't know if anybody follows me, probably nobody does, but we're putting in a range out here west of Nephi, so it's going to be out to a mile and everything. And we're talking about doing like a walk through 22 stage, because we got trees, we've got hills, we've got little valleys, we got all that stuff. And I'm like, so coming back to this, how much fun would that be to do like a walk through, like you're walking hunting squirrels, and it's just all squirrels, or it's all something, and you're just finding squirrels, so you know what to look for, or you're hunting rabbits, something like that. I think it would be a freaking blast to do if somebody could figure out
I
to
think
do
it would be a blast. ROing would be difficult.
Yeah, it probably would be. But if you did it to where they staged in a place and they came up to it, it probably wouldn't be too difficult, because you already knew where the animals were. You know, if you did like a 5 to 8 stage little thing with, you know, to try it out and get some people, you know, you could do something like that, or let the RO shoot it before so they know where everything is, something to that effect.
So here's a interesting thought, right? I've heard, I used to do a little bit of archery shooting, like some league shooting or whatever, but I've heard of matches that they used to do where there was a walking trail and the shooter had to be like centered over a rope, right? So it's like this orange rope going through a wooded area, and you could never step backwards. Like the moment you took a step forward, you couldn't step backwards, and there was not a designated place to shoot from. You chose your shot. So like you spot a target, right? And you're like, I don't know where this rope's going. I can kind of see the direction. Do I think I'm gonna have a better clearing up there, or do I go for the shot here? And maybe there's a log, and I'd have to, like, the arch of my bow would be going shooting over the log or whatever. Or do I chance going up and taking another shot? And I think that would be really cool with 22s. And that's where you could even do it with less space coal, like on your place. Set up a rope and say there's only 8 targets across the course. Guy comes back around and walks rope number 2, which is like 10 to 20 yards farther away. And he walks that one, and it's a different shape, right? There's different areas, but you're actually shooting the same targets. I don't know. You could get creative with it and not necessarily need that much space or that many targets.
Well, if you left the groups small enough, you know, 5 people, 5, 6 people, you know, and even did 10 stages, you know, that's still plenty of people to run through a small match. And I bet you could get through it pretty quick if you did it. But I mean, hell, we've got 20,000 acres out there, so we got plenty of room. But it's one of those things that I think you could do something like that about anywhere. You know, even if you did it kind of in a crescent or something like that, to where you shoot at the edges of a range. But I think that's going to be the biggest issue, especially back east, where the range is in one direction and you're trying to get it, you know, and I think somebody would have to try and figure out how to design something around that. I think that would be the biggest issue.
I'm just saying we need to make it happen. That's all I'm saying. I want to make it happen.
Sounds like Jose needs to come out here.
Challenge.
No, I want to make it happen here. I don't want to make it happen out there.
No, it goes to Alabama.
You don't want to come? You don't want to come see us?
I'm coming out there in December. It's fine. Okay, so we got a good one here, and I think this is an awesome talking point, because even Justin and I have had some conversations lately about like what I thought PRS was going to, or that kind of shooting was going to. But wait, where did that go? There we go. What are your thoughts on target sizes for 22s at distance? It seems that targets are getting smaller and smaller, and more of a game of happen chance hit rather than testing the abilities of, and what the next comment says, the marks. So Solinsky, I really want your input here, but I'm going to start off by saying, I think, and I even wrote an article on this, and I really want in my heart of hearts to go out and redo some testing in an even more controlled environment than I did it. But 22 is so much better out to a certain point than people think. So for me, at that point, I believe Okay, well, on the East Coast, it might be 200 yards, but out West with the DAs we get and stuff, 250 yards, a 22 does some silly impressive stuff, right? So let's say even out to 200 yards. So like some match directors, you'll see somebody put a 12-incher up at 200 yards. It's not that hard with a 22 in my mind. And I don't really know what sizes you're referring to here, Tyler. It says almost a novelty match at times. And I get what you're saying. Like, I hate matches with circus shots and like there's some 10-point target that's like a quarter of an MOA if you happen to hit it. And that's bullcrap. Like, I agree with the rule. Target should be worth more than twice any other target in the match. Like, a person should be good across the day. You shouldn't win because of one target. But as 22s go, I think personally that we could get smaller. And I don't want to say that too loud because then people will, and I'll look like a jerk and I'll go out there and I won't hit any targets. But we got to keep it for production classes and entry level and getting kids excited. But small targets aren't hard for 22 in my mind. Solinsky, your thoughts?
Yes, I don't think small targets are difficult. I've had a couple of match directors come to me for advice trying to figure out target sizes at different distances and what's too big and what's too small. And my recommendation is out to about 200. Don't go any smaller than 2 minutes, or don't go any larger than 2 minutes. 200 and out, go up to 4 minutes. I'm a fan of difficult matches. I hate matches where everyone needs to feel like the top 10 are all going to clean the match just so that some guy in the middle of the pack can feel good about his score. But that being said, 22 is deceptive. Everyone's convinced that if they've got a solid position that their bullet's magically going to impact the target. 22 is a wind game. It is all about wind calling, which is, I would say, more than half of the ability of a good marksman. That's what separates a good marksman from a great marksman, isn't his ability for trigger control. Congratulations, I can teach a 6-year-old trigger control. Wind calling is what separates the best shooters. And it's always been like that. If you go talk to guys that shot bullseye long range at 1,000 yard, like they run Palma. Palma is restricted to 308, 155 grain 308 with a speed restriction. I can't remember what the speed restriction is. Or they can shoot 223 up to, I think, 80 grain. And that goes out to 1,000 yards because the whole point of the match wasn't who can break the most center shot. Every guy there is capable of shooting the same size group at 100 yards. It's who's the best at calling wind because that's what separates the best shooters. And I think that gets underappreciated with 22. I mean, at 300 yards, my average wind call is 1.5 mil. That's unheard of in center fire. That doesn't happen. And if it does, everyone's complaining about how bad the wind was and we should have changed the weekend.
Maybe on the East Coast.
So I think so I think that has a lot to do with it is people underestimate wind with 22. When I teach my precision rimfire class for Distinguished Tactical, my first rule of thumb is whatever you think the wind call is, double it. Because it's always going to be more with 22. And so I think people think 22 is a crapshoot when really they're much more consistent than people give them credit for. And it's really just people suck at calling wind. That being said, he put up that thing, a 3 by 2 inch or 3 inch by 2 inch target at 350. That's ridiculous.
I don't know of any matches that I've been to 22 wise that did that small. Like at 350 yards, we were shooting 15, 20 inch plates. It felt like. Which was more, but
yeah, I've never come across anything that small at that far of a range because that does run into a crapshoot. And again, the nice thing about 22 is anybody can show up with their equipment. And because some of the cheaper ammo isn't as precise, I think 2 minutes, especially for the closer targets, 2 minutes of angle is a good target size because that allows somebody to show up with lower quality ammo. That could they throw a shot here or there because the ammo really sucks? Yes. But 90% of their shots are going to fall within that 2 minutes. So as long as they do what they're supposed to, they have a good chance of being competitive. Where if we go to like, you've got to have bench rest level accuracy for a couple of the targets, that does get a little bit ridiculous.
Cole, are you on the floor?
No, I'm just sitting there enjoying myself.
I thought you were going to talk about that awesome Kelbley that's already been proven.
Huh? Yeah. If you want to see more about it, watch Jose blow it out with shooting a match out of it.
Nobody thought about Jose blowing. We don't need.
Okay. No. Hold on. Time out. All right, guys. So there's a
On the
giveaway.
Long Range Podcast, not Jose's OnlyFans.
Oh, that's what you meant by blow. Oh, okay, got it. Sorry. No, for real. Okay, the Kelbley package giveaway. I'm going to let Tyler talk about this, but I will tell you that if you are going to hand load for this rifle, which you don't need to because it's accurate, it has about 90 rounds to it, so you can probably trust that it's already sped up. Take it away, Tyler.
So it's a pretty sweet rifle package. It's a Kelbley Coda 6.5 Creedmoor, right, Jose?
Used to be.
Yeah, till Jose blow it out.
It's a 6.5 PRC now.
Burris optic. Cole, who's the ammunition coming from? Is it Sparks?
Spark. Yep. Spark builds some freaking phenomenal stuff. They've built a lot of the ammo you see from other companies is actually built by Spark. They're part of the Peterson family, so it's actually really phenomenal, really good ammo. So yeah, you'll get a case of Spark munitions.
And you're also going to get a field optics tripod. And I can tell you.
Tally rings.
And tally rings, sorry. It's a sweet package. Get entered.
Yeah, it's over $4,000. In all seriousness, it is. The gun shoots phenomenal. The package is going to be 100% set up so that when you go to hunt or anything, it's going to be there. So it's something to definitely look into. There's only 4 days left, and then it's going to pick. Now there is different ways to win, so go sign up on the email, and it should give you different ways to enter. Whether you go like something or gives you a thing. We've got a few people entered. I don't think there's as many as you probably think there is. I wish there was more, but you've got actually a pretty good chance of winning. So go sign up for it.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this and it's before April 20th, if you're not listening to this live, but you can't be watching, then it's obviously just go to longrangetactics.com, find the giveaways tab, and it is currently the only giveaway, although it will not be the last. So you got 5 days left until, I guess, midnight, April 20th. Is that right, Cole?
Yes,
So,
and that this is only the beginning. This is the first giveaway. There's going to be a lot more giveaways. We've already got some stuff set up. So make sure you're on the LRT group. The LRT group, I'm going to put some giveaways just on there for the people that are on our group. We're over 12,000 people, and it's like 6.5 months. So it's just, it's crazy. Like it's just phenomenal, and we appreciate y'all for freaking joining us. And thanks y'all for joining tonight. But yeah, let's get back to the topic. But yeah, go enter the Kelby rifle package, and then invite your friends. You'll actually get extra entries for inviting friends. So
that's right. That's right. Gosh, where did we end? I got so distracted by blowing.
Something about you blowing something.
God. Oh man. So speaking of things that never happen, mountain lions in the South. No. So since we are on kind of a what a podcast general theme, depending on where you're watching YouTube, Facebook, or actually the Long Range Addict podcast, I do have to throw a shout out to a new podcast I found this week, the Bear Grease podcast by Clay Newcomb. So all you guys that just love to listen to podcasts, hunting podcasts, shooting podcasts, going down the road, the dude is like, he falls under the Meat Eater umbrella. So if any of you are familiar with Steve Ranella, Meat Eater, or whatever, then the Bear Grease one's pretty cool. He just talks about like rural life and all stuff. Like the first one is just literally the legend of like do mountain lions exist in the South, and it's pretty freaking entertaining because he gets his own redneck family members to get on there and like tell stories where they swear they saw a long-tailed cat in 1980. You know, it's pretty good. So if some of y'all need something to listen to because you've already listened to this, the Bear Grease podcast is pretty good. So
sounds like a bunch of Cole's hunting stories.
Shit gets western here in Utah, son.
Oh, Fillmore, Utah.
Yeah, the Fillmore Beaver area. Yeah, we're there.
Okay, so we got to talk. Oh, wait. Okay, so sorry. There's more discussions about wind. Jeremy asked, how's the wind in the east? I'm going to answer that with saying it doesn't exist, right, Solinsky? So, see, he's just ignoring me. I was trying to get a rile out of that. Didn't happen. But so Tyler said, weekend before last, we were holding 9 to 11 mils, depending on the high and low wind gusts at 450s. These 22s are crazy with the wind hold at times. I've only ever held much at all but that had nothing to do with the 22. That was the Night Force ELR match last year, where stage one on day 2 was targeted 19, 2,000, and 2,100 yards.
Hey.
47 mile an hour, dead 90-degree wind, and we were on top of a plateau shooting across a valley. And I literally had my wind completely maxed out on my scope and was still holding 4 mils. That was a pretty miserable time. I did not do well.
Yeah, the bus got sandblasted. Hell, me and Tyler had to stop at a freaking gas station to wash the windows off the one side because we couldn't see out of it. That freaking match was crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. And can confirm, Jose, he gave up.
Jose gave up. What?
No, I don't know.
It says it's safe for work. That's what SFW mean. Calm down.
Oh.
Anyways, no, I've never held that much wind on a 22 though. But I don't know. I went to a match here in Alabama a couple weekends ago and shot absolutely miserably. I'm not saying that I did well at all, although I did best on the longest stages, which is really dumb. But I was like picking up like 6 miles an hour at like 5 o'clock.
I was wondering why Selinsky was the only one that recorded his 22 matches. I was wondering why you hadn't recorded any of these that you're shooting. Now,
it's because I can't figure out the trigger cam.
Oh.
Me and Selinsky had a 20-minute discussion yesterday about how I cannot use a trigger cam. It's pretty bad. I was basically asking for a tutorial. It did not work. It didn't work at all. Anyways, no, but we're getting like a 6 mile an hour like tailwind, and these guys are like, "Man, I just can't figure this gust out." And I'm just like, I wish I was shooting better so I could actually laugh out loud, but I'm just not going to do it right now, you know? All right, Selinsky, when are you shooting next?
Yes, I'm actually not sure. So I finally got some work, so I'll be out of pocket for pretty much the entire month of May. I'm missing like 5 matches. I'll be gone 4 weeks and I'm missing 5 matches. So I'm kind of disappointed in that, but got to pay the bills. So
yeah,
sometime in June.
I'm shooting a 22 match this weekend, so I'll see if I can remember to actually charge my trigger cam this time, and I'll send Cole a link to buy my videos for $5 per 3 minutes. Everybody keep an eye out for that.
Notes to everyone: Jose's starting his OnlyFans.
Yeah, onlyfans.com.
Oh my gosh. Version. All the crayons you could ever want. No, but there's a pretty cool local club in Woodville, Alabama, which is just north of Lake Guntersville for all you bass fishermen. It's their 1-year anniversary of shooting rimfire matches. So they're just putting on like 10 stages, 130 rounds. And I'm like, how many people own more than a 10-round magazine 22? So I'm sure stuff's about to get real Western, but I'm pretty excited about that. So we'll be shooting that on Sunday. I
just got 2 of the new boxes of the SK long range, the new one they just released this year. So I'm excited. I'm going to try it. No, it's the
orange box,
long range match yellow box.
Yeah, but it's like burnt yellow because yellow is standard plus. It's like long range match is like some weird.
Yeah. So I got it. Me and my wife both have Voodoos, and I'm going to see which one. Hers always freaking shoots better than mine. I'm going to swap the barreled action so she doesn't notice. It's that gun shoots.
You sure it's not her and not her gun?
Why you got to say that? No, it's so her gun. So when I worked for Voodoo, Proof Research sent me.
No, because she'll grab Cole's gun and shoot better than Cole too, so it's fine.
That's a fact.
I shoot just fine with my eyes closed. That's how I shoot everything. So Proof Research sent me that barrel. That's the first Voodoo Proof Research steel barrel that was ever made. And he's like, here, your wife needs to shoot this. Let me know how it shoots. And I started shooting. I'm like, holy shit, this thing freaking shoots. Because mine was a standard, Voodoo barrel. It still shoots really good, but hers just flat out. Anything I put through it just shoots. I don't know what the hell it is. It pisses me off that it shoots so good, but I'm scared because I don't want to take her freaking shooting to the damn 22 club and make me look like a complete idiot more than I already look. So I'm like, what do I do? But yeah,
I've only shot with both of you once, and she beat you. So
she beat everyone at Voodoo. She beat everyone at Voodoo except one person. So she set one of the very first world records ever with Jill's Voodoo that she'd never shot before, and a match that she's never shot a match. And she smoked all of us.
So we're reaffirming she's better than you and you're coming up with excuses.
I got plenty of excuses. I can be here all night.
To answer Tyler's question, yes, I am actually going to be at Nationals, which is the end of May. So that'll be my next match.
Memorial Day weekend saved me vacation travel.
Yep.
To Tennessee, isn't it?
No,
Nebraska.
Nebraska.
The same place the same general area that Chaz hosted the February NRL match. Except we won't be in 18 inches of snow. Fingers crossed. It's not unlikely in Nebraska though.
John, slow it down. 10 to 15. You'll make it. You'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
He's flying this time.
What, you're not taking the ambulance?
No full send.
Oh God, no! Not with the price of diesel right now.
That's like
I think I added up. It's going to be like $500 each way.
Everybody's like, why don't you take the bus? I'm like, go fill it up. You'll know I don't take the damn bus halfway across the country. I'll put it on a semi.
I got to swipe my credit card twice to just fill up that ambulance. It maxes like the pump shuts off at $100.
That's ridiculous.
I do want to talk about this. So Justin said the high velocity match is new. And I don't remember. I think that's technically SK brand. That's not Lapua brand. Do you remember hearing about that, Zelensky?
Yeah, so the high velocity match is the one they released like 6 months ago, but I've only ever seen in the wild once. I actually just got gifted a brick of it from somebody. So I haven't shot it yet. But like everyone has it on their websites, and I haven't seen a single order come in. So
wait, people have it on the websites already? I've got to get
some.
Yeah.
That stuff loaded. There's a couple places have it on their website, but it's a lot of stock.
Yeah, and I think that's about the only thing, because we always found that going from subsonic to the standard velocity stuff, it gets freaking squirrely sometimes trying to get that through a barrel. So it's going to be interesting to see, because everybody started shooting that, the higher velocity stuff, and they didn't like it. Even at long range, guys weren't shooting it. We tried all that ELR stuff with it, and guys kept going back to the subsonic stuff because it was more consistent, as far as long range stuff. So it would be interesting. And I ordered something else from Lapua, and I don't even remember what it was. So we'll see what shows up in the mail. But it was one of their new ones that I wanted to try out and get going. But they've got a lot of new stuff. But it's like everything else; it's hard to get. But I think that's kind of the thing, is you got to start trying other stuff with it.
Well, the other issue we're running into is because the price of match ammo now is comparable to the price of plinking ammo for 22. As soon as it hits a website, you've got these freaking idiots who are plinking with match ammo because it's the only shit available. And it's super frustrating.
Jerks.
Peasants. The word you were looking for is peasants.
Well, hopefully with Remington reopening their factory, we might actually start seeing some bulk packs come out, and they can go play with that.
So I got a little food for fact for you. When I worked for Remington, can any of you three guys understand or know what Remington could run in one day of 22 long rifle ammo? I think I've said it.
You said it last podcast, about 1 million a day.
It's freaking nuts. Like 1.2. Shut your mouth. It was like 1.2. Apparently I talk too much. It was like 1.2 million rounds a day, though. Can you fathom in your brain 1.2 million rounds of something? And it's cool watching those guys do it, because when they load the primer compound, the room actually has water on the floor so that it doesn't ignite, because it's so volatile that if it ignites, it'd blow the entire freaking plant to high heaven. So they stand in water to do that, so there's no static electricity. It's kind of neat how they do it. But 1 million rounds, yeah, that's crazy. So hopefully it does fill that void, because it's kind of like now, it's kind of like when the rimfire market went crazy before. Remember when you couldn't buy any 22 long rifle? And now it's everything, which sucks. But hopefully it'll all come back. If y'all have any small rifle primers, I'll give you my number.
I got 5,000 coming from Federal.
Smart ass. Where the hell did you do that?
A year and a half.
Oh, I didn't say when. I just picked up a cert for 5,000 off a price table. So I chose that over chassis. If that shows you where we're at with reloading components right now.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
At least you didn't trade a suppressor for a hatchet.
Hey, I ordered that finally.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh, that poor hatchet.
I was so disappointed with that thing. So you guys haven't heard this story. So at the end of that 22 match, Me and Jose traded prizes. And
Okay, hold on, no, time out. There was way more of a scheme than that. So Linsky's like looking at the prize table, and they walk the prize table in the goofiest order ever. So he's second, and he walks the prize table fourth or fifth.
Fourth, I think.
And Zelensky's like, I don't want anything that I have to spend money on. I just totaled my car. And so he didn't want the suppressor because he's got to pay a $200 tax stamp. And so I was like, dude, get the suppressor. I'll get you whatever you want 3 spots from now. And so he did. And then it was a hatchet, and it was not near what it was advertised.
Well, so it was the only thing on the prize table that was free. Like everything else was a discount set, which is great if you had money to spend. It was the only thing that was marketed as like, you do nothing, just take this hatchet. And I'm thinking like a nice hatchet, like a couple $100, like a nice fucking hatchet, right? So I get it. I get the cert. I go to order it. The thing's only $40. It charged me $10 shipping. So I'm still paying 25% of the cost of it. And then it shows up and it's not even a hatchet. It's just a slab of AR 500 cut in the shape of a hatchet for tightening bolts on targets. I've got to go put I haven't even done it yet, but I've got to go put 3 hours on a grinding wheel, just put an edge on this thing.
What you need to do is just keep it in your car when you need to break out after you roll it.
Right?
Make sure it's secured where it doesn't go flying about like fragmentation.
Cut the back of it, make a seatbelt cover.
How does Zelensky die? And there's just the handle of a hatchet sticking out of the back of my head.
It was a dull hatchet. What just happened? Oh man. All right. So we're over an hour now. We try to keep this. We try to be cognizant of people's time. But we hope you've enjoyed today. We know it kind of went a lot of different directions, but I feel like it was pretty good. But we're going to put Zelensky on the spot. Mr. Instructor Extraordinaire, what's your nugget of wisdom for the week? One nugget of wisdom. What you got?
For 22, double your win call.
Okay, that's fair. All right.
Double, he says.
Yep.
Mm.
0.2 versus 0.4, that is what it is. All right.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Appreciate everybody. Cole, any closing notes?
No, I mean, next week, again, we're going to be sitting down with Sean Heron of We Like Shooting. We're going to be going over building, out a rifle, what components to look for, and we're going to talk about that. So that's next Thursday, and hopefully we can have a couple of these guys with us. Tyler's going to be on more of the shows, helping us do notes and help us get in a direction, keeping us on track. So we appreciate that, and it's exciting as always. I mean, 100,000 freaking downloads. It's just hard for me to fathom, where this podcast has gone. And we appreciate y'all for listening. I would ask, pretty please, that you go rate the podcast, whether it's on Podbean or wherever you listen to it going down the road. Please rate it because it helps us. And give us feedback. I mean, I ask it, and I haven't got a whole lot of it. There's been some people that have asked, and I've sucked at doing it. I need to do a ballistics one. That's my background, but I need to do a ballistics podcast one of these days because there's a lot of people that want to know about bullet ballistics. But again, go review it. Let us know what you think. I had one guy leave a 1-star review and said, "Great podcast. I love it." 1-star review. I'm like, huh? Count. There's 5 there. More is gooder. So please go give us a podcast. If you only like it 1 star, give it a 1-star review. If you like it 5 stars, give it a 5-star review. But I appreciate y'all. Thanks for listening. We're going to be doing more of these, so keep them every other week on the shooting the ammo bullshit session, and then every other week we're going to have other people come on. We've got Ian Kelbley. We've got a bunch of cool people coming on to talk about fun stuff in the industry, talk about different stuff. There's a couple podcasts that I'm going to do here in a few weeks. One of them is going to be titled "So You Want to Be a Sponsored Shooter." We're going to bring on some big executives for big companies that talk about like what you need to do to become a sponsored shooter type thing. We're going to talk about social media, where it's gone. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up, so I'm excited to do it. And again, I appreciate y'all. Thank you guys for coming on tonight, Thursday night. Hopefully y'all have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.